I want to bring in two people who know a lot about Donald Trump and how he runs things. David Clay Johnston is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and the author of the book, The Big Cheat: How Donald Trump Fleeced America and Enriched Himself and His Family. And David Schoen is an attorney who represented Donald Trump during his second impeachment trial. He also defended Steve Bannon in a case involving this exact same attorney general. Welcome to you both. Gentlemen, it's great to have you. Okay, David Schoen, I have to say last names because you're both Davids tonight. But David Schoen, I'm going to begin with you and with this breaking news tonight, the MarALago ruling. It's very, very complicated, but basically a three-panel appellate court, two judges appointed by Trump and one appointed by Obama, ruled against Donald Trump and said that the government can keep on going with its case. They can keep on looking through all of those many, classified documents and other documents to continue their criminal probe of why Donald Trump had those documents at his MarALago home. So I know everybody's going to politicize it. I know everyone's going to, have something to say about it. But I'm more curious if Donald Trump is going to ask for an appeal of this. You can go to the bigger panel, right? He has a three-panel, but there's a bigger panel, and that's called en banc. Do you think he's going to do that? Say, I want a full reading of this by all of those judges.
I would think so, but he got almost as good a panel as he could have gotten. I mean, Judge Rosenbaum, this is a court where I practice regularly, and one of the judges on the panel is a good friend of mine. This is about, two of the judges at least are about as friendly to Donald Trump as you can get. Judge Rosenbaum isn't, but he's also a very bright judge. I would imagine they'll seek en banc rehearing because there's no downside to it. Let's be clear, though, it's a very limited decision, and the court went out of its way to emphasize it was a very limited decision. What they said essentially is that the district judge didn't really have the right to stop their criminal investigation from reviewing the documents. And the panel said that the 100 classified documents specifically at issue do not have to be turned over to the special master for review. That was the limit of this decision. They said, we don't want to opine on the merits of the underlying case at all, but it was a pretty bad slapdown, I have to say, to the lawyers in the case. They raised a number of issues, including that they hadn't raised executive privilege earlier. They hadn't shown a possessory interest in the documents. They had said that maybe a claim would be made of executive privilege and otherwise, and that they were declassified, but they never came forward with any proof they had been declassified, and so on. It's a pretty bad slapdown, I would say.
But we're seeing that also with the special master, right? The special master made the request, just tell us which ones are classified and we can be done with all of this. And they wouldn't do that either. So is it that they're bad lawyers or is it that they have a bad case?
I don't know. Listen, I think the lawyering in the case has left something to be desired. Waiting the 2 weeks, which is something also that the court noted today before they asked for the special master and so on. I think there were some mistakes that were made. But, as to Judge Deary, the special master, I think we called that the other night on your show, he's a straight arrow. He's not putting up with anything. And, he's just made clear he wants just direct answers to the questions that he's asking. And he wants his thing to move as quickly as possible.
And David Clay Johnston, I'm going to get to you in 1 second, but just one more follow-up to that. And that is the special master business. Because it kind of feels like, what's the special master for now if the DOJ can just go ahead and look at everything anyway? There isn't this business of you can't look at this stuff until I determine whether it's privileged. What is the special master going to do now?
As always, you've asked another good question. And the panel even commented on this. The Justice Department's position before even the district judge was, what are you talking about? We've already concluded our review of all of the documents. But there is still a role for the special master here. There are privilege claims that are going to be raised. Now, he has asked them to identify, which documents you're raising a privilege on, which documents you claim have been declassified, and he doesn't feel so far that he's gotten direct answers to that. They say they shouldn't have to disclose it because it discloses their underlying defense if there ever is a case brought. But anyway, we'll see.
Interesting. Okay. So David Clay Johnston, thank you for being patient. That breaking news kind of threw us for a wrench there. We had to get some business out of the way. And then there was breaking news this morning. So that's why we called you right away, because anybody who's a Pulitzer Prize winner covering taxes is going to be a good person to talk to about this development. So my biggest question is, if this an investigation by Letitia James, the AG of New York, goes back 10 years. And I get it. There's issues of statute of limitations, right? So maybe she couldn't go back 20 or 30. But it isn't like Donald Trump has been a wallflower. He's been a bombastic and outspoken and headline-grabbing businessman in New York for a very, very long time, and he's made a lot of enemies, a huge list of enemies, little guys who say they didn't get paid. I don't understand why all of a sudden we're getting this very detailed 200, instance accusation list of all the things that he's done wrong, because it does, to one side of this ledger, look like it's a very political, legal move by the AG who's running for office. Why should those people not believe that this is politically motivated when, for the last 10 years, nobody's bothered to look this stuff up and levy these charges?
Well, I can see how people would see it that way. I would look at it quite differently. I think there's abundant evidence that there's a great deal of lawless behavior going on among major banks, especially international banks, and among large insurance companies whom Donald has also been entangled with. We've had numerous indictments over the years. We've had a number of superb books written by financial journalists showing all sorts of corruption that has gone on with the major international banks. And so I think the broader question is, why are we devoting so little law enforcement resources until this specific civil case filed by Letitia James to lawless behavior by big international banks that flout the rules, that engage in all sorts of behavior that is not allowed under their banking licenses? Do I think we're going to get a realistic look at that? No, I don't. We spend very little effort in this country on white-collar crime, even though it does massive economic damage, but we're very, very effective in pursuing blue-collar crime. If you rob a bodega with a water pistol, we'll send you to prison, and it won't be difficult. But if you rob people through the kind of devices the Trump family has been using for more than 100 years, no, not likely anything will happen to you, and you're not the only people doing this.
Well, then I'm just going to follow that by saying that's an allegation only, to sort of state on national television that the Trump family has been robbing people for 100 years. And that's certainly just you speaking and not me. But now Letitia James is saying that there are at least 200 instances where she believes that he has broken the law and needs to be civilly sued. So
just to be clear, actually, there are a number of court decisions where Donald has been found to have cheated investors, workers. He cheated gamblers at one of his casinos, the only time that happened in Atlantic City. I mean, there's actually a long court record of Donald violating the law.
Well, and funny you should say that. Actually, I have a list of, I don't know if we've got the graphic ready, I'll pop it up there, of all the people who came out at him, small-time guys, contractors, blue-collar guys who did work at Taj Mahal. And these are all the people who said he just refused to pay us, 253 of them. Poor guy who gave the domes to the project, was out $2 million, and the marble guy had to file for bankruptcy. The partition provider had to fire his own brother, which was pretty upsetting for him, I'm sure. And the list goes on and on as well. But so the question is, and David, Schoen, I'm going to get you to weigh in on this part. Can't two things be true at the same time? Can't Letitia James be political and zero in on a guy who, quite frankly, I'll just read what she said on the night she was elected. Or on the night, the night she was elected. She said, "I will be shining a bright light into every dark corner of his real estate dealings, and every dealing demanding truthfulness at every turn." So can't two things be true at the same time? She could be political, but she could be going after a case that is actually with merit.
Yeah, 100% right. I think Mr. Johnston actually even suggested that in his initial part of his answer. I'm not surprised he's won a Pulitzer Prize, because he's right on with the idea that banks and insurance companies and so on have been a part of this kind of thing for many years. They get big transaction fees, the bigger the deal, and so on. But anyway, your question is the very important one. And yes, both things could be true. We have to remember these are just allegations, and there are defenses to them all. But the problem is Attorney General James is just the wrong messenger. She had no business campaigning on a pledge to target a particular individual, Donald Trump. She had no business weighing in on the Mueller investigation, saying they're closing in on Donald Trump, as Bloomberg reports, and so on. It's just inappropriate for the chief law enforcement officer of a state to target a political figure like this over and over and over again, whether the allegations are true or not. And the problem is it undermines her allegations, because half of the public, at least, will say this is politically motivated. Look at her past comments. Let's not look at the evidence in the case, and so on. She also, I believe, directly violates the ethical rules. You know, Andrew Cuomo just filed a 48-page ethical complaint against her for her conduct in his case. I don't know whether it's meritorious or not, but we can't have a law enforcement officer like this making these kind of public comments that affect and prejudice a case.
I will hear right now the cacophony now of Democrats who say, boy, I remember when the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, was the attorney general in Texas, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but he said, I go to work every day, I sue President Obama, and then I go home, and to great cheers of his supporters. So it ain't just one-sided. It's, you know, everybody's guilty of that kind of garbage. Okay, real quickly here, David Clay Johnston, this is something I'm fascinated in is Donald Trump's defense for all of this. In these kind of cases, what you normally hear defendants say is, I am the president or the CEO of a company that there's no way that I can know every single thing. I have advisors for this. And if my advisors told me to do that, then that is not, I don't have the mens rea, right? I don't have the guilty conscience here. I don't have the guilty intent here. So Letitia James was actually kind of, she crossed that T, didn't she? She dotted that I on this one.
She did a great job in this case, and I agree with David. Her conduct in other ways politically has been totally inappropriate, but she ties these things to Donald. She shows where Donald was given professional advice, a building is worth $200 million. He then declares it to be worth $500 million plus and says, and that's the price the appraisers put on it. And, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I do teach law at Syracuse University College of Law. And it's one of the things we're going to go into in my next class is these issues of where when you can show as a government lawyer like Letitia James that the target you're looking at acted on his own. He went to the meeting, he organized the meeting, he brought people together, he claimed he had advice which was the opposite. He knew the size of his apartment wasn't 30,000 square feet. It really is very bad for the other party, in this case, Donald Trump, and he's not going to be able to be successful when this gets to court in saying, I just did what the lawyers or the accountants told me to do.
Because I know a lot of people sitting out there in America land say, every year I have to do my taxes and I have to sign it. And it doesn't matter who prepared it, I have to sign it. And if it gets, you know, if it's screwed up, it's on me. So I do see that as well, even with the fact that Letitia James really does have a lot of the receipts. Hey, David Clay Johnston, thank you for doing this. And David Schoen, as always, it's just adore having you on. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.